Well, hello everybody. It's so good to see the ladies. How are you guys? Oh, Jen's kind of hid behind this little thing right here. But I'm still hosting for now while Sharon's still out from her surgery. But we have our beautiful Monique and our amazing, also
Hi.
beautiful Jen with our guest tonight, Teresa. Hello, guys.
Hello, Teresa. Hello, ladies.
Hi. We got to fix this so we can see Jen here. But yeah, in the meantime, we're going to have Teresa tell us how she got started in real estate and where she's from and all that good stuff about her. And then we can ask questions and we'll watch for you guys in the chat if you want to ask any questions along with us.
I have these little messages showing up, and my view is a little bit blocked, so I'm not able to see everybody. But anyways, thank you. Yeah, that's better.
Is that better? Good.
Thank you, Donda, for asking me to come on today and share about my experience. So a little bit about me. I'm currently in Arizona, and I have been living here for about 7 years. Before that, I was born and raised in California, Los Angeles, and I have 5 children. I'm married with 5 children, but in the very beginning, I had a little bit of a rocky start, and I feel like my story is can help other people, especially women who have had rocky starts, maybe inspire them to consider the real estate industry. So I'm not sure where exactly to start, but
well, what got you? You went from dental assisting because I know we both talked about we both were in dental assisting prior, and then how did you go from dental assisting to real estate?
Yeah, so I was, in dental assisting for many years, and I guess one of my frustrations was that I was going to hit a ceiling. I could never earn what I thought I was worth, and so I also was a single mom at that time, and I remember going into my boss and asking him for a raise, and he said, "Well, if I give you a raise, then I have to give everybody a raise." And at that point, I just had that moment of clarity, and I said, I've got to be able to do something else. So I thought my direction started to go into dental hygiene, which was like above dental assisting, or I knew I could earn more money, but there was a real, you had to get a degree to get, and at that point I had 4 children at home, or 5 children at home. And so it came, I said, what can I do so that I can be at home when the kids got to get off the bus? And so real estate was my answer. And so in 2003, I started, I got it. My first job was actually working for a mobile home dealer. And this is a guy that sold brand new mobile homes. And so I pretty much sold myself because I really didn't have any experience at all. But he hired me as a salesperson, and I found that I was a really good salesperson. And so I just started. I learned all about mobile homes, and particularly, who was buying these mobile homes. And what I found is there's a really wide demographic of people that buy mobile homes. It fits a lot of boxes for people, anywhere from, first-time home buyer to a retiree. And I'm also know that, people have a stigma about mobile homes or manufactured homes. They're basically the same. Okay, they're all factory built. So a lot of people say, well, I don't live in a mobile home. I live in a manufactured home. And I say, well, they're all factory built, and they've come a long way over the years in building standards. So I just kind of found my niche there, and then learned a lot about sales. I learned a lot about people, and I learned a lot about financing, how to get financing for these homes, because that was something that I learned pretty quickly is when I'm working with a prospective buyer, you know, they can like the home all they want, but if they're not qualified to buy, I'm kind of wasting my time. So I had to learn what the guidelines were for financing these mobile homes and how to help them obtain financing. And that was a big part of my story. As I became very good at being able to determine pretty quickly by asking certain questions whether I thought they were ready to buy. And so that was I think that today I feel like there are realtors that are coming, new realtors that, they don't want to learn certain things. They don't want to learn. They feel like it's out of their scope to learn about finance. But finance was a really, important part of my success was
Mm-hmm.
being able to learn about the financing and how I could join people together and how to be as efficient as possible at my sales. So, um, in 2007, I opened up my own office. So, it's called Bella Homes. And I, you know, again, just started, people would say, well, why are you selling mobile homes? You could be selling single family homes and making a lot more money. Um, but I had to take a little bit of a spiritual approach because my focus wasn't just on, of course, I was making money, but I didn't have any false premises that I was going to be a millionaire. Basically buttering my bread, and it was consistent. Um, and so that's what I've been doing. And so in 2007, I opened up the only office in my area that specialized in mobile home sales. And what I mean by so there's a difference. So when I first started in the business, I was selling brand new homes. So those were homes that just came off the factory line and they've never been sold before. So I would take people through models and show them, and then they'd place an order for the factory to build a home. So that market shifted a little bit because people were, it just shifted so that I was selling more homes in mobile home parks. So most of my work has been in communities. So those are people that, a lot of it was people who got priced out of the market and couldn't afford to buy a single family home. So
Right.
they could still purchase a home and have that home ownership in buying a mobile home, but it was leased land. So so back to that, I opened up my office and I, did very well. I, had several realtors working under my license. And again, one of the things that I began to do was to teach others about mobile homes because it is that niche market and not a lot of people know. There's a lot of realtors out there that I think kind of simplify it, thinking that they can just jump in there and sell a mobile home, and then they find that there's a lot of moving parts to selling a mobile home. Not only are you selling the mobile home itself, but you're also working with tenancy issues because tenancy is part of the sales transaction. It's gaining tenancy in the park, and then also helping them through the financing.
Yeah, because a lot of people misconception is just because it's in a park that they can't get financing. They think it has to be cash, which I was told at a park I was doing a fix and flip on and got a client. And so you actually helped me and her show that that's not the case, that there are, and there's a time frame though. The house has to be within a time frame of years.
Well, no, there's no age limit.
Okay.
So basically, I can find financing for any type of home, whether it's a single wide, meaning one section, a double wide, 2 sections, triple wide, 3 sections,
Okay.
and any year. But there is there's So there's something called pre-HUD. So in 1976, the Department of Housing started to regulate mobile homes. And so the building standards changed. So anything 1976 and older, the financing conditions and guidelines are a little bit different. Oftentimes you'll find that the interest rate is higher, or maybe they won't finance as loan. Maybe they'll only do 10 to 15 years versus 25 years.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, there's always some confusion on that too, I think, with a lot of people, because it's, like you said, it's not the standard go buy a single family home. There's a lot to this. Yeah. And you guys also did fix and flips with mobile homes too, right?
Yeah. So I just wanted to go back a little bit and just say, so, and, you know, and I had Bella Homes, and that's pretty much was my whole life, selling mobile homes. And then in 2017, I got my license to originate loans.
Got it.
Yeah. So now I was pretty much operating what I like to call like a one-stop shop. So not only can I help someone buy a home or sell a home. So what I was getting is a lot of people that were either moving up or moving down. So, you know, you might have a young family who had bought a mobile home that they want to sell, and now they want to move up to a single family home. Right. Or you have a single family seller that decides that they want to downsize, and that I would help them sell their single family home and get them into a mobile home.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good transition there. So, yeah. But you guys also, you got married and you started working with your husband, right, on fix and flips in this process. It gave you opportunity also to find.
Yeah. So I survived the crash of 2008, and that was really challenging. You know, we got a lot of repos on the market at that time. So I was working with several different mobile home lenders. That's all they do is mobile home financing. And so they had these empty homes that they needed to fill. So I would, you know, act as like a project manager and actually get a contractor in there and, you know, oversee their work and to completion and develop marketing plans and sell those homes. And, you know, I sold hundreds of mobile homes in my career, literally. So I've built quite a reputation in my area. A lot of realtors still call me who, you know, have questions. You know, they don't know, like, how is an appraisal different from a single family home, or what's the financing guidelines? You know, what about the contract? How is the contract written? It's different from a single family home, those sort of things.
Yeah. So how
before that?
We were just talking about going into the fix and flips, but while you're on that conversation about what is different about the financing with mobile homes versus a single family home. Those are good questions.
So the mobile homes they're considered personal property or chattel. So these lenders there's no government sponsored funding for these types of homes because they're not single family homes. You don't own the land. So there are specialized type of lenders that come in and they will, you know, originate loans, but they're going to do it a little bit differently. The terms are always different. And so your average interest rate right now is about 9%. And that would be over 20 to 25 years. They don't do 30-year loans.
Okay.
So that's the biggest difference is people. And so what happens is there are people that are contemplating, like, should I buy a single family home or should I buy a mobile home? And they don't know the terms. So they think, well, I can buy this $350,000 home, or I can buy this $200,000 mobile home. And they think that, well, I'll just go with the cheaper option, right? But then there's space rent. So the lease of the land is one thing to take into consideration, which brings up your housing expense. And the other is when you look at the terms, when I write up an approval, they'll look and they'll say, wow, these payments are very similar. And that's where the shock comes in. They're like, how is this possible? You know, this is only $200,000, but it's looking like a $350,000 house payment.
Mm-hmm.
So I do a lot of educating. That's part of my thing, and I think what I enjoy a lot about this business is that I really like helping people, and I like um, helping people make the best decisions, and helping them understand um, what it's all about.
So, is there a way for somebody to get a mobile home or manufactured home financed in a way that's less expensive then? Because, and yeah, a lot of people, oh, mobile homes aren't financeable. You don't want to buy that. So,
Yeah, that's just not true. They're all financeable.
so is there a way to do it? So, like, if I'm going to buy a 350 versus a 200,000, I mean, wouldn't make sense. I might as well buy the land too and pay the 350, right? So,
Yeah.
what would be the best scenario to?
Well, it really if you want to get a government sponsored loan, then you can buy what they call land homes, and that's where somebody who has taken a mobile home and they've placed it on their private property. So if you own the land, and the foundation is a big issue, so there's certain conditions that, like an FHA conventional, the foundation has to be strapped down. There's certain things that need to happen for it to be considered. It has to be put on what they call a permanent foundation. So it can't be on what they would put in a mobile home park on leased land, which is not a permanent foundation. So there's a real distinction between the two. But to answer your question, if there's a lot of reasons why people would buy a land home. One is it's already existing and it meets all their needs. A lot of times you see these type of mobile homes on bigger parcels of property. So people that maybe have animals is a good one, or a business or something, and they want more land, but it happens to be a mobile home. As long as the foundation is correct, which has to be verified, there are certain permits that you have to obtain and you have to have an engineer come and kind of verify that foundation is correct. Then you can get an FHA loan or a conventional loan.
And then it would be a 30-year loan.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I've had occasions where people will say, well, I bought this piece of property. It's got a manufactured home on it, but it does not have the correct foundation. And so then the type of financing that I offer, chattel financing, we would come in and we'd be able to finance, but it wouldn't be at the same terms.
Okay, so it's called chattel financing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And anytime you get in a mobile home park, it would have to be chattel financing then.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way to compete.
Unless the foundation is permanent. Now there are very few parks that have it, but there are some where they do install a mobile home, and it's kind of like structured like a HOA, where they don't call it a land rent, they call it an HOA, and you are either buying the little parcel itself, or you have an interest in that parcel. So as a community, they all have an interest in the land. And then sometimes I don't know, my screen keeps on going dark.
So there is a lot to these mobile homes that people have no clue. And so, and I think kind of off of Monique, she was saying like, well, if they can get into a stick-built home for almost the same monthly cost, why do you think they veer away from them when they realize that? Or do you think
I think that's what's happened. I think this is just part of the struggle right now in this market that we're in. It's not because in the beginning of my career, it was more of it was a lot more. I mean, I was selling homes that were at that time $60,000. Okay, that's very affordable.
Mm-hmm.
But those same $60,000 homes are now $180,000.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see how things have really climbed. And so, you have to weigh I tell people you have to weigh those options very carefully. Before, it wasn't so hard to be able to make that distinction and be able to say, yeah, and there's other reasons, that people buy mobile homes. It's not, especially like retirees, they really want to simplify their life. They want to have access to a swimming pool, but they don't want to maintain it. They want to have security, but they don't want to pay for a security. They have like a gated community. It's like, I call these parks communities within a community. So they
Yeah.
have all these amenities of the park, but they're not paying it, and they're living pretty simply. And then there's the, first time home buyers, same thing.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. And then so now as a real estate agent, you've flipped hats and you put on your different hat. Now you're starting to do some flips. What did you find different about those versus regular homes?
Yeah. So,
So you don't do that anymore at all?
What?
You don't do any of that anymore at all,
No.
Teresa? Okay.
Are you talking about investing?
Me?
Money? Yeah.
You're talking
No,
about
I mean,
investing?
do you still do the loans? The
Yes, I
travel
do.
loans?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I do the loans. That's my primary focus now.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I have a couple of, so I have, my office is still open, but I work with a broker partner. And so any of my old referrals, I refer them to her, and I just collect a referral fee. So my main focus isn't really sales anymore. My main focus is loan origination.
Okay.
I have to plug in my laptop. Hold on one second.
I had to ask you, Jen. I saw you were wearing a hat.
I know. Like you look like you're going on safari.
Story on his hat.
Yeah, I've been gardening all day. Texas, where I live, has a total of maybe 20 days the entire year where it's not too hot and it's not too cold to get outside and enjoy it.
20 days.
So
Okay.
I basically go MIA from all my businesses, family, friends, company, everything. I stop grooming myself, as you can see, no makeup, and I just get outside. And I wish I could move to, the Pacific Northwest where I could get outside every day. But here in Texas, like I said, 20 days per year. And I just completely neglect everything to plant and be outside. So,
Well, there's a lot of room over here in the Pacific Northwest, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Enjoy
let me
it.
know. Once I get my kids raised, I'm going over there.
You're out.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks for asking. It's very sweet of you.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so Teresa, we were talking about flipping hats from an agent and lender and to an investor. So the differences with mobile homes, fix and flips
Yeah.
versus a single family home.
Well, I think I had a really great advantage because my husband was a contractor. And so, and then I had relationships because I was a salesperson. I, developed relationships with banks. And so then I got to know the asset managers. And so, they would tell me if there was something that was coming up, and we call it a wholesale property. So the asset managers make a decision. They either want to refurbish the home and put it back on the market as like a resale, or they'll say this home isn't worth fixing up. We'll sell it as a wholesale. So I would go for those wholesale properties. And so, it worked out because I could have my husband go in there and just kind of give me an estimate on what the repairs would be. And I would do all the research to find out what I think I could sell the home for. And so I had that advantage. So, the difference is, I think as an investor, you're really concerned with space rent. Space rent. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Space rent is, I think, the major issue is holding time. How long can I hold this property and pay the space rent before because it can quickly spiral out of control.
Right.
And you're just feeling a tremendous amount of stress. And so that, I think, is number one, getting the home cheap enough so that you can, bear those holding costs and know that you might be paying space rent for a while. And the other thing I think is different is, and I think this is with everything actually, is dealing with the park management. I don't know if you had a lot of issues with the park manager.
Yeah.
Some of them are really difficult to deal with. And they become like territorial. And, if they don't like you, they can really make your life difficult because as much as you might have a qualified buyer who is ready and willing, and then they have to go get tenancy, and that's a whole new process. And there have been many times when the park did not approve them for tenancy, even though they were fully qualified. And it could be anything from, I've had all kinds of different, I've had park managers that say, well, the buyers look like drug addicts, so we're not going to approve them. I've had, where they didn't want Mexicans in the park.
Mm.
I've had just simple, they didn't think they were going to be able to qualify to abide by the rules and regulations. Like they had a pit bull, they don't want pit bulls, or maybe too many people living in the house. So there's all kinds of these objections that you have to overcome.
Right.
Not to mention that
Yeah.
they sometimes I've had cash buyers actually being turned down because they couldn't provide a proof of income.
Oh.
So they want to see that they can, pay the space rent, and if they don't see enough income, sometimes they'll deny them. But so those are the biggest challenges, I think, any way you go. But
I think you see that in single family homes too, when you're renting them out and somebody doesn't have ability to prove that they can rent it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that one too. I ran into one though that they wanted a kickback. So they kept denying people and sending them elsewhere because they weren't really denying. They were just like, oh, they have some things that aren't up and whatever. And we're like, here's the docs. You got to quit saying that stuff. Everything's been permitted. Everything's on the doc. And they were just, what they wanted was to sell the property so they can get their $2,000 to sell it. And that, until you agreed to that, they made it hell for you.
Yeah, well, a lot of these, in the case of a renter, because they have no skin in the game. But with a mobile home, a buyer, they're sometimes if they're paying cash for the home, they're fully invested in the home, and they're they're not going to want to lose. I mean, they do have these mobile home management companies. They yield a lot of power because they can evict people, and they do evict people. And it could be for something as stupid as not following the rules and regulations, and then they evict them out of the home.
Can they evict them like just like a normal eviction, or is it more like when you're in an RV park eviction type of thing? Or what's the eviction process look for a mobile home park? Is it same?
California, first of all. So it's a lot more lenient. It's pro tenant. So you have to really you have to give them 30-day notice. First you have to give them 30-day notice. So.
Well, then does that mean that they keep the mobile home? Who keeps the mobile home? Or
if they're not paying the space rent, then the lender will be notified if there's a lender involved, and the lender will take possession of the home, and then a lot of times they will pay the management for any arrears.
Okay.
But in the case if it's a cash, this is sad. Sometimes these mobile home management companies will, kick the people out of their home, and then they'll take possession of the home themselves and then resell it.
And that's if it was a cash and there's no lender involved.
Yeah.
So they can't move it.
No. In fact, a lot of people think that because it says mobile home that these homes are, can be moved to all different locations. They're really not. They're only really meant to be moved once. They're not on wheels. They're transported on wheels, but they're on a chassis and they're on a foundation system. So in fact, if some of these parks have, wanted people to like force them out to take the home away, and there was a law passed because it was really, it was harming the structure of the home by just taking it apart and moving it. So, yeah.
So I heard up to twice. If it's been moved more than twice, that nobody will even touch it for financing because it's not meant for it just can't, like you said, it's like they can move it the original time from the lot to the one spot and one other time, and that's it.
It would be hard to prove that it's been moved, but yeah.
Probably.
It doesn't really happen very often at all.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just one of those things that people think that, well, this is my house and I'll just take it and move it somewhere else. Well, it's really not that easy. First of all, you have to hire a contractor, and about, $15,000 to $20,000 later, you'll get your home out. But it's not so simple. It's just to unplug a couple things and move it.
Yeah.
Would it help you to know of a guy who is really adept at talking to city councils and getting them to approve mobile home parks in different cities?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean.
Yeah, so I know that a lot of cities, they don't want to approve mobile home parks.
Mm.
And so there's a gentleman that I know who's supposedly really good at that. And I don't know if that would help sales volume, to know that there was more, that there were guys whose job it was to talk cities into.
Not in the area that I serve.
Okay, that's good.
There are so many mobile home parks. They all popped up in the 80s, 70s and 80s. So a lot of these parks are really well, they've been around for a while.
Awesome. And remind me, what market are you in?
North Los Angeles.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's great. All right. I've got to pop off and make some calls, ladies. Thank you so much. It's very nice to meet you. And we'll see you next week, guys. Thank you so much. Take
Bye,
care.
Jennifer. Good luck on your calls.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
That's a real estate game for you. So, yeah. So, I mean, like Bullhead's got a lot of mobile homes in it too. I mean, there's areas I've never heard of cities not having mobile home parks have you guys? What Jen brought up, I never heard that. It seems like every city has them, but maybe there's certain areas that
I would think like off the top of my head, I'm thinking like Sedona. You know what I mean? Like some of these upscale areas where they've
Medina.
They've already kind of, that's what I'm saying about a stigma about manufactured housing, is there's a stigma that goes along with it.
Yeah.
There's kind of the trailer trash.
Yeah.
Right.
But like I said, I've met millionaires that live in mobile homes, in mobile home parks. So it's a real wide. There's a lot of definitely there's that trailer trash, and I would always like grade mobile home parks when I was talking to people. I'd say A, B, and C. I would never go D or F, but A was like these really well maintained. They're like they have 24-hour security, and they have all the amenities, and everything is perfectly, all the yards are perfectly groomed and really nice. And then, maybe you have B, where there's no security, but the homes are still middle class, people are still. And then there was the C, and usually, I never even, those were a little shady, but
yeah. But everybody, chance for them to live in a home that they might not otherwise, I guess, and hopefully work their way out of there and have a dream to go on to something else, but at least a roof over their head. So,
yeah, I mean, there are some people that just prefer the mobile home parks, because, it is like a community within a community, and people are in close proximity of each other. There's lots of, multiple generations that are living in the same park, like grandma and grandpa, aunts and uncles, cousins, they're all living in the same park. And, there's a sense of community there. And
I never thought about that. Yeah.
So I see that a lot, especially in the Hispanic community. And the Hispanic community is one of my largest consumer, especially in California.
Yeah.
They're my largest consumer.
So expensive to live there. So I definitely could see why a lot of people go that route.
Yeah. Space rent, I think the whole premise behind mobile homes was affordable housing.
Right.
And what's happened is that these parks have, as they just have, they're, someone who owns these parks, it's their job to make profit. That's what they want to do. So they're raising the rents every year. And so what's happened is, people haven't necessarily, their incomes have not caught up with the cost of the space rent. So, In some, cases, people just can't pay the space rent. So
Right.
you might have like I just know in the areas that I used to serve, like $400, $500 a month was like average, and now that's jumped to like $1,000 a month. So if someone is buying, an average, just say a $200,000 mobile home, their payment's probably going to be about 1,500 a month for the mortgage, and then let's say $1,000 for space rent. Actually, I just had a client I approved, and the space rent was $1,350, and his payment was like almost $1,500.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it gets pretty close where you're like, does that make sense? And then if I have my 30-year mortgage on a house, I know taxes and insurance always go up too, but I don't have to worry about a lot space going
Yeah.
forward too. So
Yeah, they do. They do go up. That's what it is. Hopefully you get into a lease, or, you get into rent controlled parks where they're the landlords can't just raise it up too high. It can only be up to, I think, only 3% of the cost of living index is what the limit is. So
that helps.
the other thing is taxes. This is another thing, selling point that I talk a lot with people when they're considering a mobile home is when you look at the taxes in California, the average property taxes, maybe you're paying, between $4,000 to $6,000 a year versus a mobile home. There is taxation on mobile homes. So I'd say the majority of mobile homes right now are on the property tax rolls. But they have a different matrix of way that they assign, a tax. So I'd say that your average, let's say right now with that client that I was just working with who wants to buy a $220,000 mobile home, his taxes will be around $1,100 for the year.
Oh, yeah. That's a lot cheaper than the taxes in the
and property insurance is another one. I think his property insurance was going to be about $1,300 for the year.
Oh, yeah. Where like in California, you're probably looking at that more like thousands of dollars, right?
Yeah, especially because of all the wildland fire zones that are in the area. So, in some cases, the insurance companies aren't even insuring mobile home parks. You have to go through the state. Yeah.
Interesting. Huh. Well, yeah. And I know there was somebody out here in Payson was trying to get insurance on their home, and even there, Payson's a high fire risk area, and it was the same thing. They just like, I'm having a hard time finding insurance that'll cover it.
Yeah, they have to go through the state.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's interesting. That's good to know. Yeah. So anyhow, I wanted to get to your fix and flips though. How many have you guys? I mean, you guys were doing that, you and Jerry, right? And
yeah. So when we decided to move to Arizona, we were, that was going to be our primary focus was fix and flips. And at the time when we moved in 2017, it was where we relocated to, Monique, is called Bullhead City. And it's one of the fastest growing communities on the West Coast right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so it's like near California, so right on the state line of California and Nevada. So they call it the tri-state area.
Oh, cool.
And so we're like 4 hours from Phoenix. We're about an hour and a half from Las Vegas, and I'm about 20 minutes right now. Right now, I'm about 20 minutes from California state line. But anyways, what we were this community was once like, because we're on the Colorado River. That's the whole reason you come here. The Colorado.
Right.
It's just a gorgeous river. There's plenty of recreation. We go boating. We go kayaking. There's all kinds of things to do. There's a lot of fishing. So people had second homes here, but people started, coming in here because as the housing prices went up, people started looking for more affordable options. And then after COVID, it really changed, and people were tons of people from California, but all over. We also have a snowbird community. So,
Mhm.
like people from Washington,
Yeah, they like to get away here.
Canada, Minnesota, Alaska, those people, they all, come back here to roost until it warms up again in their state. So, anyways, it was becoming very clear that this was an up and coming city, and that there was lots of opportunities for fix and flips. My husband is, like I said, was a contractor, so I got my broker's license in Arizona so that I could basically handle the whole transaction. And yeah, so we would buy. We were just like on that climb. We were just on that climb. So we bought low and then we'd sell high, bought low, sell high, bought low, sell high, until all of a sudden we realized that we were being priced out of the market. Also, there were other investors. So we started competing with more and more investors. So all of a sudden, where we weren't really having to make, like multiple offer situation. Now we were competing against other investors, and it was crazy. Like some of these investors were just like, bidding really super high. I couldn't believe it. I was like, why would they want to bid on this home so high? But they just, I don't know. But yeah, so we would buy a home, and my husband would, fix it up, and I would sell it, and we were doing that for a while until we felt like we kind of just weren't able to do that anymore.
Yeah, I got a little crazy here in Washington State too. People are bidding higher than they can't make it work. They can't, and then they get burnt out, and they lose money here in Washington State, and then they have to bounce because they want to get into the fix and flip so badly. They'll just do anything to buy property, and then it's like the price is just too high. They're offering too high of a price.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
I'm really lucky. One of the Donda and I, we did a fix and flip a few years back, and I think we were just on the cusp
yep.
of how the prices were going higher and higher, and I don't know. Then they started coming back down,
Mm-hmm.
and I was really worried. It was like, oh my gosh, I was so happy when that house sold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We sold it and we made money on it. That was the thing. But there for a while, we weren't sure because the market was shifting, and that's what happens. You get the market shifts, and then it goes a different direction, and it's just
and that's really the difficult part of making flipping business your only business is you'll have these great flips and you'll make money and you're on top of the world and you're so happy. And then you get one that tanks for whatever reason. It could be because the market shifts. It could be the economy shifts. It could be the interest rates go up like they just recently did. And then you don't make the money that you were supposed to, or contractor goes south on you, anything can happen. And then all of a sudden you basically lost all the money you made from the last two flips, and you're starting all over again in essence, rather than building a business. And so it feels like this roller coaster that you're on. So fix and flip is fun and great. I've done it for years, but at the same time, it's nice to have other things that you're in your wheelhouse that you're working on to make sure that you can either pivot or, build something that's going to be sustainable.
Yeah, so you have a backup plan just in case.
I think that was one of the best things about doing the loans is that I was no longer stuck just in one area. Like, if you're a real estate agent, you're like, well, yeah, I can sell you this home as long as it's in this little area that I service. But in loans, I can go the whole state of California. Nothing was stopping me. I could help someone in Northern California. I could help someone in San Diego. It didn't really matter, and I could work remotely. I wasn't really dependent on, trying to, meet people and that whole sales aspect of it.
Yeah. You could do more deals that way. Just by getting your name out there.
Like you said, what Monique said, diversifying.
Yeah.
Is I think important.
Yeah.
You guys also took one of them and made a really cute short-term rental for a period of time too. So, yeah, enjoyed
Yeah,
doing
that was the first time that we got into a situation where we're actually, we just kind of looked at what Donda and Jim were doing and, thought that would be something that we could do. And I think we did it successfully.
You did. It's really cute. She's such a great decorator. Teresa's got a really good eye for decorating.
Yeah, I
I
really,
can see her background there, and I'm
Oh,
looking
right?
like, that's so cute. I haven't seen something like
Yeah.
that before.
She's really good. Every time I go to her house, she's done something different. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, the wall's a different color. Oh, what did you do? She's always designing. She needs to do
Yeah.
that for some of those Airbnb people, because some of those pictures you look at their houses, you're like, there's nothing on the walls.
I definitely, it's just, I studied real estate staging, and I think when it's really important. I think that's really a really important component of selling a property. Is like the fix and flips. We always staged our homes. We tried to demonstrate use, and so some people really can't see,
Right.
envision things. It's like you have to, like I can see a totally torn up old house and see it exactly. I see a vision. Some people don't have that, so it's really important to be able to stage the home. And what I found is I really just enjoy design, and so yeah, I think it's a really important part. In fact, I thought about starting another business, just home staging, but angling it more towards, not that you have to buy everything brand new, that you could go in and use what they already have, but start to subtract a lot of their stuff. Because a lot of people, they want to sell, but they don't want to part with any of their stuff, or they don't want to move things around. They don't want to, they don't know exactly how to prepare a home for sale and having the eyes of a buyer, So I like helping people, helping them organize and trying to help them see what the buyer would see and how that might help them, sell their home quicker for more money. And I think
That's very needed, I think.
yes,
Yeah, I do too.
homes sell faster. So
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, because a lot of people don't realize it's like, you need to kind of clear things out so it doesn't look so cluttered. There's just so many little things, and they're just like, they don't understand that, and for you to be able to go in nicely and, like you said, let's just box up some things and put them out in the garage for now, and let me move this here and there, and maybe find a picture in the garage that you can, like, well, let's put this on the wall and whatever. I think people just don't realize, because I know we had one in Scottsdale and we weren't gonna stage it, but as soon as we did, that's when we started getting more and more, and it's just like, you know what, it just definitely helps a house sell.
yes.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. Yeah, we even picked up a few things just on Facebook Marketplace we had furniture here too. We kind of used some stuff here and worked with our agent, and she brought some stuff. We got like a really neat little dining room table and on Facebook Marketplace for $100. And, it was just like, it just totally gave it that homey feeling, and people could see how the flow is supposed to work. Like you said,
Exactly.
sometimes they don't have a vision for, like, well, where would you put a couch? They just don't see it. They just see this open space and they're lost. Yeah.
I think a lot of people have trouble parting with stuff. They have memories. It's all about their emotional attachment to the house and what it represents. And, pictures that they, family photos. That's the first thing I say is remove the family photos. And they get upset about that sometimes. But, also scale, the furniture scale. You see a lot of people with these huge pieces of furniture.
Yes.
And, it really dwarfs a room.
Yeah. So like, let's just take part of that out and put it somewhere else. Yeah, it definitely can help.
Yeah.
I found a really good tip too, if you're like staging a house, which we were doing in Portland, Oregon area. It was a big house. It was 4-bedroom stuff. And we had a gal that gave us a really good tip. She's like, just use a blow up mattress and put it in your bedroom, throw a comforter over it. At least they can see a bed. You don't
Yeah.
have to go and get a real bed and put a real bed in there, you know? Those are
Yeah,
built on it.
they have props that you wouldn't believe.
Oh, yeah.
You can buy props and like that are just, you know, you wouldn't even know.
Right?
Like TVs and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But I you know, I think it was fun. I mean, like when we were doing that epoxy countertops,
Yeah. That was a
you know,
great time.
that was a fun project, and I think that you know, done right, I think that it can really add value to the house, and you know, for an investor, it's a cheaper way to go if done right.
Yeah.
I think it, like that house that we did with that made a huge difference in the kitchen.
Yeah, it did. Big difference. And then that bathroom too, where we
Oh
just
yeah,
rebuilt the whole top, epoxied
Yeah.
that, and then put the bowl sink on the top. It
oh yeah, that's right. We did put a new
made
sink.
that bathroom just beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of neat things in mobile homes. I think definitely you just like the wiring's a little different. There's
Yeah, definitely. The construction of the mobile home is you know, part of, you know, if you're doing mobile homes, yeah, definitely there's, you know, things that are different, you know, the I guess the foundation and the flooring is huge. You know, you see a lot of lumps and bumps in a mobile home. There's a lot of settling, cracks, and you know, especially because California has a lot of earthquakes. You know, it's sometimes you can see some shifting going on, but yeah. And then some of the older homes, we've actually we had an old home. It was built in like 1967, and we had an electrician come out and they retrofitted all the outlets because it was these outlets that were antiquated, and apparently there was a risk of these plugs actually could be a fire hazard. So we had to have those all retrofitted. And then even in Bullhead, one of the flips we did here, Jerry and I did, that we had to take out we had to replace a whole panel. You know, it was just the city required it, actually, a new panel for the mobile home. Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I guess there's some panels that I found out too that were like recalled, and it was like, oh, after you buy a place or something, then you find out you're like, oh, that was great. It would have been nice to know that ahead of time. So that definitely means I'm going to have to fix it because nobody else had in the past. But there's a lot of things people don't realize that go into fixing flipping houses for sure. There's things you learn along the way a lot of times. They are fun when they're successful, but they're stressful when they're not, you know? So, and then just like, I'm going to fix and flip it. Well, sometimes you need to be like, if this doesn't sell, I need to have a plan B. And sometimes you turn them into a rental. So it's nice to kind of have a price point where you're kind of safe for that backup plan that you can make it.
Yeah, that's the other difference with mobile homes from an investor standpoint is that we couldn't rent those homes either. So let's just say there was a home that we said, well, we can't get the price we want. We're just going to rent it. The park itself wouldn't allow rentals. They have to be owner occupied in most of these parks. So that was the other problem.
Yeah. So a lot of good questions to ask for any future people who wanting to look at investing in mobile homes and stuff.
Yeah.
Those are really good tips.
Yeah. So that was one of the things I would probably ask before if I was contemplating, investing in a mobile home is what are the park's rules and regulations first? Do they allow, a few of them allow rentals, but I'd say most of them don't.
Yeah.
And the reasoning is because in their mind, they think that, the home is that there's a bit that people that are owner occupied, that they're more invested and they're going to take better care of their home, which is a reflection of their park.
Yeah.
Which is also, you start getting a bunch of renters in there. And then you have a whole mess of renters that just don't have the same.
Yeah, it just ruins the quality of the park. And
Yeah.
you know, you're living in close proximity.
Right.
You know, there's very close quarters, so everyone kind of knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, any other questions for Teresa, Monique, that you might have?
Oh, no, and I just realized we're getting up to the top of the hour here.
Yeah, I know. I went pretty quick, didn't it? It always seems to just go. Is there any tips that you would give for somebody that thinks they would like to be an agent and before they go to school and get all their training and stuff? Is there anything about any of the aspects of real estate, Teresa, that you've done that you would give any tips for anybody looking at investing or becoming an agent or anything that way?
Well, becoming an agent, I'd say I would, if it was me, and well, I actually did do this. I went to an independent broker. I didn't go to one of the big box brokers like Keller Williams or Century 21 or whatever the ones they have right now. I went to an independent broker, and I actually volunteered my time there and learned from there was a husband and wife team that owned the brokerage, and they taught me a lot, and they let me ride around with them, and so that was my first experience. Before I did the mobile homes, because I thought I was just going to get my real estate license, just sell single family homes. So I would say get with it, because I think they can also give you more time, and it's going to be cheaper too, because they're not going to charge the types of fees like the desk fees and classes and all this stuff they want you to take. So that's just my opinion on it.
Okay.
And then I would say, if to not set your expectations on what real estate is, that it's not a get rich quick proposition. It's not like what you see on reality TV where, there's $1 million agents driving around in their Mercedes and, all this stuff. It really is hard work, and it's a full-time job. To be successful, I believe you have to be full-time. I think it's hard for somebody to come in and just want to be a weekend realtor. I think you really need to devote full time to it. So,
Cool.
and that offers a lot of, on the flip side, it offers a lot, I would work I still work 7 days a week. I mean, that's part of what I say. I work 7 days a week up until 9 p.m. So I'm always taking calls, and that's what suits me. This is my style of work that I like. So I don't ever resent it that I'm working on a weekend, but I also affords me a lot of flexibility where I can take, a day off, or, I have that flexibility and freedom, which I think is great, because, you're not clocking in and clocking out. You don't have a boss looking over and, watching you and, counting your hours. And I think that the fact that you have an income potential that's only yours to decide on how much you want to make by your own efforts, not by, because I'm a woman, I know I'm only going to be making $20 an hour for the rest of my life,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's really good. Good information. All right. Well,
as an investor, I would say, just to be really careful if you're going to go into. I just saw something on Facebook where there is a class where you learn how to invest in mobile homes, and it's the first time I've ever seen it. And someone's making money off of selling these courses on how to be a mobile home investor.
Well, I hope they have the actual knowledge and have done it. That's the thing to check with some of these, right? You should do that. You should do
I was really tempted to see exactly what they're saying, because, I think the only way to really know it is you have to be in the trenches. You've had to, done it yourself, and, know all those components, because there's a lot of moving parts to mobile homes.
Yeah. Well, maybe you should start a program then, Teresa. That would be too. Do an ebook or something. Sell those, right? Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Teresa, for joining us tonight. It was really good to hear from you and see your smiling face, and just really hope everybody got some great information. I mean, as much as I know you, I still learned something tonight. So it's always good to have those conversations, and really appreciate you doing this. So thank you again.
All right. Thank you.
Good meeting you, Teresa.
Nice meeting you too.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Donda.
Bye. Thanks. See ya.